Our story begins more than 60 years ago inside an abandoned chicken coop, where our founder discovered a retired teacher living, no home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion, that inspired AARP. Today, we empower people to choose how they live as they age. As a wise friend and fierce defender, we advocate for better health, financial security, and stronger communities. AARP, join us in making a difference.
We are so glad that you can join us in this inspiring virtual series, proudly sponsored by AARP. Today, we kick off a journey of hope, healing, and empowerment. Our featured guest is someone whose story is nothing short of remarkable. Please welcome Dr. Mark De Brincat as the Good News Doctor. Dr. De Brincat's journey began with a life-altering event, a near-fatal head-on collision that left him wheelchair-bound and facing 7 back surgeries. He transformed his personal tragedy into a mission. With over 30 years in the field of natural health, Dr. De Brincat has served thousands of patients as a compassionate guide who truly understands what it means to fight for recovery. He was told that he might never walk again. Dr. De Brincat became living proof of the body's incredible healing potential when given the right tools. Today, he specializes in holistic wellness, brain health, and neurofeedback, empowering people to live pain-free and purpose-filled lives. The healing begins not with a magical pill, but with a shift in mindset and a commitment to positive change. Get ready to be uplifted, informed, and empowered by the story and insights of Dr. Mark De Brincat. Let's begin this journey together with good news, great wisdom, and the hope of healing.
Hello, welcome to today's presentation for AARP on navigating menopause, empowering your mind and body. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Dr. Mark De Brincat, and the reason this is so important to me is because I had to become my own best patient. Many years ago, my wife and I were in this head-on collision and both suffered nearly fatal injuries. And it took me many years to recover. And I'm happy to say that I finally found my way out of my wheelchair and got all my abilities back. And so much of that was giving credit back to my body for doing the healing. At the lowest of lows, when they told me I should just accept my disabilities and be thankful that I'm alive, I was certainly grateful. However, I knew that my body is always making new cells. And if I focused on making the next version of my cells better than the current one, I felt that that was going to be my ticket and way out of my wheelchair and to help my body recreate tissues that it made before my traumas. So let me ask you something. I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. What do you see? Now, many of you might look at that and say, hey, that's a glass that's half full of water. Okay, that would be correct. Some of you would say that's a glass that's half empty of water. Well, that would be correct too. Some might just say that's a glass of water, and that would be another viewpoint that's correct. Well, how about the glass is completely full, half water and half air? Again, this is another truth that you can't argue with. All 4 of those examples were true. However, we look at the world through typically one of those examples. So you're going to hear things today that are also true, but you might never have been told or never had the opportunity to look at it from a different perspective. Well, that's what we're going to offer you today. And the beautiful thing is the more you learn how to work with your body's normal functions, the better your body will perform and function. And that's inevitably what we want. Everybody to be happy, healthy, and actually live the best life that they could possibly live. Now, we're only going to do that if you truly understand what drives the function of our body and how we can work with that process. So helping to understand menopause and this whole transition of going through menopause, and really what does that mean for our brains? And when we look at the brains in menopause, we're really looking at hormonal changes and their impact on the brain. So we could have things like fluctuations in estrogen and progesterone, which those levels, when they're off during menopause, it's going to affect your body's ability to make neurotransmitters. Now, those neurotransmitters can control your moods, your memory, and also your cognitive function. Other symptoms that might arise would be hot flashes. Most of you are aware of those. They're kind of hard to ignore. Brain fog, where things just seem a little fuzzy inside. Might have difficulty doing multitasking tasks that you might have been doing your whole life very easily. And then, of course, a slower processing speed. Might take you just a couple extra seconds to answer somebody, to think about what you were just asked. And that slower processing speed is also very common during this transition. Now, to help you understand what that transition means, let's talk about two different parts. We're going to talk about signaling changes in the brain, and we're also going to talk about blood flow changes in the brain. So let's first talk about the signaling science behind menopausal changes, so we understand what is our health of our cells. Now, we could honestly say that health is nothing more than a dance of electrons around our cells. They charge our cells, they give us energy, and they allow us to make things happen. So when you have a charge, you're healthy. And when you don't, you're going to get sick. Okay, it just boils down to that. Doesn't matter which symptoms we have in our body outside of menopause, this fact holds true for every cell of our nervous system. Your brain cells have one function and one function only: send information. That's what they do, and that's what they do best. From the time that you wake up in the morning until the time that you go to sleep, your brain cells are going to use their charge to send information, much like our cell phones. If we have to charge it at night, we have a full battery in the morning, and we can talk and use it all day long until the battery dies. And then it still looks like a phone, but it doesn't function like a phone without that battery. And so each cell in your body is supposed to have between 70 and 100 millivolts. Any symptom or condition you have in your body that you're experiencing is simply stealing away the charge of those cells. And so they tend to not have the ability to send their electrical signals through your nervous system and through your vascular system and through all other parts of your body to communicate. So when we have energy, where do we make our energy from? Well, it comes from inside every cell. These little orange bean looking devices, organelles, are creating these redox signaling molecules. And those are being used by every part of the cell to do any function of the cell. And so as we sleep and we recharge ourselves, we are literally recharging our cells to be able to make it through the day. Not only have the charge to function, but we're also improving their ability to signal. We need to be signaling other cells. Now, when we talk about these little mitochondria, these are the little bean organelles in our brain, they're making energy. Well, they're also making oxidative stress. It's like the exhaust pipe in your car. The engine's burning fuel to make energy to move the car, but there's exhaust that comes out. So that exhaust is what we consider oxidative stress. Now, the amount of these mitochondria that we have in each cell is very important. It determines how important is the cell, how many functions does it have, and how hard is it to repair or replace. Well, most of the cells in your body are going to have just a few hundred of these, but your brain cells have 2.5 million. This is why our brain needs 20% of our blood, even though it's only 2% of our body weight. We have engines going on creating so much energy for us and for our nervous system. And we're the only animal on the planet that has that ratio. Well, why do we need so much blood? As I mentioned, we have a lot of engines making stress. We want to put out that stress so it doesn't damage our cells. That's called oxidative stress. It's like rusting. When you take a bite of an apple and it immediately starts to turn brown, oxygen is attacking the sugar in there and changing it, okay? And so damaging that fruit. And so that same process happens inside every cell of our body, and we use those molecules to balance it. If we can't balance it, we have experiences like weight gain and degeneration and blood flow issues and blood sugar imbalances, and then that leads to inflammation, which can be skin issues, autoimmune disorders, angry cells, breathing issues, and hormonal imbalances. And if the inflammation stays on, these problems get worse. So it's this delicate balance using redox molecules to make our cells stay charged and able to communicate. So the problem is as we age, we lose how many of those mitochondria we have, and we just can't make as many redox molecules. Hence, our tissues get older, they're less viable, we don't respond as fast, we don't heal as quickly, and we certainly don't move as easy when we don't have enough signaling. So this is truly like the fountain of youth. If we could find ways to preserve and restore and even make more redox signaling molecules, and stay tuned because we're going to talk about how we do exactly that. Let's talk about our vascular system and the science behind menopausal brain changes. So first, let's just introduce you to our vascular system. Most people understand arteries, veins, and heart. Well, there's capillaries, which are 200 times smaller than a piece of hair, where the arteries turn into the veins, and that's where they deliver all of those nutrients. And it's so important that we maintain healthy capillaries. Now, your doctor may not have spoken about this because they can do things to the arteries and veins to improve the health and save your life. However, they don't have instruments small enough to operate on these microvessels, so they don't talk about them. But however, they're very important. You have 65,000 miles of these vessels wrapped up inside your body, which makes this the 99% of your vascular system you may not have known. So if you think of a tree, you have one trunk that turns into two trunks, which turns into more and more trunks, all getting smaller. And at the end of the line, we have a leaf. Well, the little tiny branches that hold a leaf by far outnumber any other size branch in that tree. Our vascular system is wired much the same way. The bigger ones get to smaller ones, and then we can see the single file ones where you can count the little black dots. Those are red blood cells. And if we zoom in on them, we can see they don't actually touch the wall of the vessel. I've always wondered, why don't they touch the wall? And they said that there is a protective coat in there, and in that coat is actually hair, and then the hair is embedded with redox signaling molecules, which then become the intelligence of your vascular system. The molecules know to let oxygen in and waste out. They protect that wall at all costs. When that hair wiggles, it releases nitric oxide to keep blood moving through these vessels. But over time, that hair erodes away. And through age and diet, some diseases like viruses and some genetic issues, as well as smoking and stress, can destroy your glycocalyx. Now, what happens is it's no longer protecting the wall. So things in the blood can scratch that wall, leak behind, cause swelling, cause calcification, and certainly cause plaque to start building up where that wound was. And so wherever we have plaque, we have no hair underneath it. And so it leads to this spiral of problems in our bodies when we don't have sufficient blood flow. First of all, the glycocalyx gets damaged, and that damage leads to impaired capillaries. They just don't carry blood as well as they should. That loss of function in the capillaries leads to organ starvation, especially your glands, like your ovaries, that are producing estrogen and progesterone. If those tissues in the ovaries don't get oxygen, they're going to start to starve, cause malfunctions in the production of your hormones and the release of the timing of your hormones. And that leads to complications, which then could shut those organ system or even cause premature death. And so life is in the blood, and it's so important that we maintain proper blood flow throughout all seasons of our life. And the more we can improve the blood flow and the signaling of our brain, the less likely we are to have symptoms going through the transition into menopause. Your brain and your heart have a very intimate relationship. They are constantly sending signals back and forth to every cell in your body individually on the health of that cell and what they need. And so signaling is always most important, but then the blood flow is how they deliver everything. So those are the two most important systems in your body. Now, what are some strategies to avoid during this transition into menopause? Well, first of all, avoid restless sleep. Anything you can do to be consistent, to get a good night's sleep, is going to help your body heal and repair. That's when most of the new cells are created, during that sleep time, and it's when our body recharges and revitalizes ourselves. Avoid diet of highly processed food. It takes more redox molecules to break that down, and you don't get the energy out of it, versus eating healthy food that grew from the ground. You're going to get all sorts of antioxidants from that. You're going to gain more redox molecules into your body, have better signaling, and live a nicer, longer life. Of course, avoid stress. Any stress that you know that you could avoid, don't put yourself into those situations. Stress is a killer of your redox molecules and your blood flow, and only you know the things that are stressing you out the most. I tend to say, I'm not going to let myself feel any kind of way about this new information until I get more information. Don't jump to conclusions and allow yourself to lose all the redox molecules that you have going on right now just to deal with this stressful event that may not be that important. Avoid toxins like smoke and other heavy metals and things that we know we can try to avoid. Do your best to avoid that. And then try not to live a sedentary life. Try to stay up and move and go and socialize. All of these types of behaviors that we're seeing here are going to do nothing but deplete the energy from your cells, and they're going to interfere and start to clog your blood flow. And when we don't get our blood and we don't get those signaling, we're going to have a lot of symptoms besides the transition through menopause. So the opposite side of that and the strategies that we want to promote are things like smiling. Keep a smile on your face. It produces happy hormones and neurotransmitters, and it's going to make everything flow a little easier. Find light in any situation and don't let the little things get to you. We mentioned sleep because on both sides of this, it's important that we get good quality sleep. You don't make up for lack of sleep. You just cause more damage to your brain. And so it's important that you get consistent good sleep, stay social, get out, enjoy relationships with people, enjoy social activities. Of course, hydration is the #1 nutritional deficiency in the world. So everything needs water. Your signaling needs water. Your blood needs water. All of your organs and tissues need water. So stay hydrated, and that's going to keep your systems functioning better. Now, your brain needs fats. Don't worry, you won't get fat from eating fat. Don't eat rancid fats and don't eat fried fats, but eat things like salmon and olives and avocados and nuts that are rich in fats. Your brain will function a whole lot better. We take supplements as well to help improve antioxidant production in your body and those fats and essential fats that our bodies need. Most of us are just not going to get it from our diet alone. So it's a great strategy to take supplements to help balance that. And the last thing I want to say is just be grateful. Spend time praying, have gratitude, be thankful, meditate, deep breaths. All of these things help get you out of that fight or flight mode and get you into a more relaxed mode. And so your brain, your heart, and your organs should have ups and downs all day long and variable. And that keeps us healthy. So I hope this information was wonderful for you. Know that these strategies for a smoother transition are all designed to help rebuild and restore the vital energy inside each and every one of your cells so that you can function at the best abilities that you have. So understanding menopause can actually help you manage its changes that you're going through, and using some of the strategies that we've mentioned are going to give you that leg up on healing and allow you to experience a much better quality of life. Now be sure to talk with your doctor if you have any concerns about menopause, for they can help you also transition through this process smoothly. So until next time, I hope you have a great day. Bye now.
That was a very interesting and educational topic that you have shared with us, Dr. DeBrincat. So now we come to the question and answer portion. And we do encourage all of you to drop your questions on the chat. I will read them, but just to be sure, it is not a promise that we will cover all of your questions. I can see that quite a bit that's coming on through the chat. So the first question, Dr. DeBrincat, is, what is the main reason menopause affects memory and causes brain fog?
And I appreciate all of you being here today. The main reason why menopause is going to create that brain fog is because the drop in estrogen and progesterone is directly linked to the neurotransmitters and the brain circuits that are involved in memory and focus and maintaining a good mood. And so estrogen is also supports blood flow and cellular energy in the brain cells. So if we have a decrease in estrogen, it's going to create that, quote, fuzzy feeling that you feel with brain fog.
Okay. Our next question is, Dr. DeBrincat, how long do brain fog and memory issue usually last after menopause?
For many women, symptoms can improve over the course of a couple years after the menopause begins. And that's the brain adapting to these new hormone levels that it's going to be sustaining. However, if you have unmanaged stress in your life, if you have poor sleep and excessive oxidative stress in your body, it is going to actually continue to last and maybe never get better. So truly, lifestyle is going to play an important role on how well you can respond to the new stresses that your body is under and be more resilient through that.
All right, that's good to know. And our next question is, are hormone replacement therapies, which is also known as HRT, effective in improving brain health, and are there risks?
Hormone replacement therapy can be very effective for some women. It can help them improve their mood and their memory. However, it's most effective if they can begin that therapy early into menopause versus trying to catch up later. But there are inevitably risks involved, especially for the women that have heart issues or breast health issues or maybe blood clotting issues. Then it may not be the most effective treatment for you. I just suggest always working with a healthcare professional that is experienced in this and that can guide you through the process.
Okay, so they do vary. All right. So what role do redox signaling molecules play in maintaining brain function during menopause?
Well, when you start asking questions about redox signaling molecules, obviously I get very excited because I'm very passionate about the body's ability inside the cell to create these molecules that are going to help the cells repair and then adapt during stress. But even more so than that, it helps the cells actually communicate. So your body as a whole has better signaling and allows us to um, live at a much higher potential. During menopause, oxidative stress is very high. So it's important to have that strong redox potential during that time to help you adapt through this change in your life and become more stable with those hormone balances quicker.
Okay. And can lifestyle changes like diet, exercise, or stress management really reverse or reduce cognitive decline?
Yes, absolutely. Lifestyle is one of the most powerful tools we have to help reverse cognitive decline. Things like exercise are going to increase your blood flow and help create neuroplasticity throughout your brain, which is growing new brain tissue. Things like diet rich in antioxidants and fiber helps reduce inflammation in your body. And then, of course, stress management is super important because that's going to preserve your memory and it's going to help your brain reduce cortisol, which can be very damaging to the nerves and cells within your brain. So, lifestyle is probably one of the most powerful tools we have because our brains are dynamic and they're constantly changing and adapting. And they're doing the best they can and they're not judging you for what you're doing or not doing to them. They're just going to do the best they can with what they have available. So lifestyle is what you're giving it to be available to help produce the best version of you.
Okay, so lifestyle, exercise. Well, you heard it. How does poor sleep during menopause impact brain health and mood? This I want to hear.
Well, let me just say that poor sleep during menopause is going to impact your mood because it's causing dysfunction in the ability for your brain to consolidate all the memories for the day and regulate your emotions. We don't make up for loss of sleep on the weekend when you sleep in. Loss of sleep creates damage to your brain. So we really need to focus on whatever it takes to help us get good sleep so that we can protect our brain and help recharge those brain cells at night so we can actually function all day long during the day.
Okay, that's good to know. Our next question is, are there specific food or supplements that support brain health in this stage of life?
Absolutely, there are specific foods to support your brain health at this stage of your life. Foods that think of grow from the ground and actually are real food and alive at some point. Your green leafy vegetables, your berries, omega-3 rich fish like salmon, nuts, and different fermented foods to help your gut health. Now, we also supplement with our omega-3 because we get a nice clean source of essential fatty acids for your brain. Now, don't worry, taking fatty acids doesn't make you fat. It's what your brain needs to make these nerves fire. Vitamin D and magnesium are also very important. And then the probiotics for your gut health is crucial. You can't have a healthy brain if you have an unhealthy gut. They are absolutely connected and they learn from each other. So the probiotics that you're taking helps maintain a good, healthy, anti-inflammatory gut.
Okay, so this other question is, how does social connection or mental stimulation help the menopausal brain?
Well, anytime we're engaging in social events and meeting with friends and having to listen and respond and interact, It's a very good thing for our brains. It's actually building cognitive synapses to allow your brain to have better memory and better control of your moods and your emotions. And it just fills your body with good, healthy neurotransmitters and hormones when you can be social. Now, the opposite side of that is when you're lonely and you're introverted and stay inside all the time, this is going to increase your risk of having cognitive decline. So it truly is important to have some sort of social outlet in your life to help maintain your brain health.
All right. It sounds like we have to continue learning and keeping our brain active here today. What modern tools, such as NeuroPeak or brain mapping, can help track or improve brain function in midlife women?
That is a great question because there is amazing technologies out there that can give us a glimpse inside our brain and see how well we're doing. With our NeuroPeak system, we do a hearing test, a full cognition test, and then an EEG, which is a basically map of your brain's neurology. Now, with this information, we have therapy that can target areas that you may be weak in and help strengthen those areas and return to your youthful self that had faster memory and easier concentration, better sleep, better mood, and such. So it's amazing that we have technology that can give us that glimpse and also lay out the pathway of success to help rehabilitate and sometimes and just enhance and allow us to truly thrive as individuals.
And with that, I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you. And of course, to Dr. De Brincat for sharing his knowledge with us.
Thank you so much for joining us today and letting me be part of your brain health journey. Please tune in next time, and I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, have a blessed day.
I also would like to thank our co-producers for this broadcast, the JEG organization for their collaboration in this webinar, and of course, the co-partner, the Armchair Adventures, including the sponsor for this broadcast, AARP. And just a reminder to all of you, you can view this broadcast again if you just wait at the very end of this video and you will see all the links there. Once again, I want to remind you that this is the first of 3 episodes, and we will see you on the next episode entitled Brain Health Boost, Strategies for a Sharper Mind, so that you will continue to learn. We will all continue to learn all the good habits and techniques to strengthen our memory. So with that, thank you all and see you in the next exciting episode. Good night.